Okay, this is part 7, and I had to cut it off kind of quick on part 6 because we went way long. But we were getting ready to go over Ephesians 6:12, and I'm going to read it from the King James Bible because the translation of these words is what I'm going to, we have to pull them from the King James Bible, okay? Okay, well, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, let's take some of these words and look them up in the Strong's Concordance and see what the translation of these words really means. And maybe that'll give us some insight as to who we're dealing with, okay? Okay, principalities is Strong's number 746, and it's arche. And it's very interesting that this word is translated, that the definitions that this word is associated with, okay? Commencement, chief, beginning. Now that word beginning really just kind of jumps out at me, and I don't know if it jumps out at you, but it jumps out at me because in the beginning, Satan and all these angels fell with him. Over a third of the angels fell with him. So could this principalities have something to do with the fact that this is the beginning of all of that? You know, so they're the ones that are the head, the chief, in this order of things that's in Satan's kingdom. I don't know. Maybe. It's a possibility, right? Okay. Powers. The word powers is number 1849, and it's exousia. And it's a magistrate, a spiritual potentate, which basically means ruler. Potentate basically means ruler. Okay, rulers is the next one, and that's number 2889, cosmocrator. This word means epithet of Satan, okay? Epithet basically means expresses the quality or character of a thing. So this word cosmocrator means rulers that express the quality or characteristic of Satan. Those would be very close to the fallen angels that chose to follow him, you know, because they would be just like him, right? It also says that they are not, it refers to them not being earthly rulers, but of spirit powers exercising satanic and antagonistic authority over the world. That's the world that we live in, right? So they exercise satanic and antagonistic authority over the world. This is what they do, all right? Now, wickedness, number 4189, pomeria, which basically means iniquity and sins. This is kind of interesting. The places, when it talks about the high places, there was no word in the Strong's for places there. Basically, what that says is there was no Hebrew or Greek, in this case it would be Greek, there was no Greek word translated. They didn't actually translate these words into this verse. They basically put them in there to give a deeper meaning to what the author was trying to say. So, high places, we can, that the translator was trying to tell us that these things operate in high places, right? High places. That's why some of these translations call it my translation says heavenly sphere. Heavenly supernatural sphere. It's a sphere that supernatural, so we can't see it, but it's a heavenly sphere. Some of these translations, I think, let me look down here. heavenly places, heavenly realms, heavenly places, high places, under heaven, which are under heaven, okay, in the heavenly world, heavenly places in the heavens, heavenly places, high places. So this heavenly places thing and high places thing, we know it's not heaven because sin and evil and Satan and them got kicked out of there, right? And here's the earth down here. So there's this place up here, what a lot of people term the second heaven. And this place, according to Ephesians 6:12, is where these things operate from. Okay? These principalities, these powers, these rulers, this wickedness, this in these high places, second heaven, because it's between heaven and earth. It's a supernatural, spiritual realm that we cannot see. Okay? Very interesting. Nowhere in any of these does this give any kind of indication that these are devils. Okay, they're calling them spirit powers exercising antagonistic authority over the world. I think these are actually the ones that are ruling over. They're telling the devils, demons, what to do. These are the ones that are giving them the jobs down here on the earth. And these people, these things are over territories. I believe they're over regions. They can be over regions, states, families. Different things. All right, because they're kind of ordered that way. Okay. We know that according to the scripture, there's some kind of order. Okay. All right. So, after all of that, I want to tell you, Jesus conquered every one of these things, from these principalities in the beginning, the chiefs, all the way down to the devils that we deal on earth, to hell, to the watcher angels, to the angels, to the stuff that's locked in the abyss, whatever that stuff is, all right? Whatever those things are. We have authority over all of them because Jesus conquered every one of them, all of them. Luke 10:19. Let's go there. Let's look at that. All right? Behold. Okay, in verse 18. And he said to them, I saw Satan falling like a lightning flash from heaven. Behold, I have given you authority and power to trample upon serpents and scorpions, and physical and mental strength and ability, over all power that the enemy possesses, and nothing shall on any means harm you in any way. All right? Interesting that serpents and scorpions, well, we're not going to get into that because that's a whole other thing. All right. So, let's look at 1 Peter 3:19 through 20. Let's turn there real quick. I want to actually I'm going over scriptures, okay? Not anything that's in the book of Enoch. I'm giving you scriptures in the Word because I want you to get this, all right? Now, in this verse, okay, in verse 18, it says, For Christ, the Messiah himself, died for sins once and for all, the righteous for the unrighteous, the just for the unjust, the innocent for the guilty. He stood in our place, okay? That he might bring us to God. So he restored the dividing line, that sin line, that kept us from God and his presence. Jesus restored all of that. In his human body, because he came as man, he was put to death, but he was made alive in the spirit. So when he died, he rose again. in which he went and preached to the spirits in prison. Now, this is a very interesting verse that's stuck in the middle here, right? I think this word preached, I cannot remember where I heard it from, okay? I can't remember exactly what the translation really should have been, okay? But this word was translated as preached. In the Strong's Concordance, it says herald the gospel. But I was told that it does not actually mean preach. It means to tell, to herald the gospel of Christ. Okay, so he's telling these spirits in prison. Okay, it's interesting. Prison, this word prison is translated 5438 in the Strong's, and it's phulaki, and it literally means a guarding. So these spirits are in a prison that's guarded somewhere. Okay? Could it be that he went to the abyss where these things are locked up, where those watcher angels and whatever else is down there is locked up? And after he died, we know that he, hang on, let's go to Colossians. Colossians 2, verse 15. He disarmed the principalities and powers. Okay, that's that Ephesians 6:12. Those rulers, okay, those things that are from the beginning, the chiefs, okay, that were ranged against us, and made a bold display and a public example of them, and triumphing over them in him, and in it the cross. He disarmed them. He took away their authority that they had over us and took it back. And he took it back for us because he's getting ready to go to the mercy seat of heaven and pour out his blood on there and give it back to us. He gave us back the authority. Okay? So he disarmed the principalities that were raged against us, made a bold display. Could this be him going down into these spirits in prison? Could this be the abyss? Did he start down there and make his way on up, saying, "Hey, guess what? I won! I triumphed! I got back the victory for all of my people, for all of my Father's beloved. And guess what? There's nothing you can do about it." Okay? Did he? Is this what this means? I imagine that he probably started in the very center, in this abyss. And I think he, it says he made a bold display of them openly, publicly. So he went down there and he told all of them. And he made his way on up through hell, told all of them, and then I think he went up to this second heaven, this place where these principalities and powers and rulers of darkness, I think he went up there and he took back the authority from them and say, "Hey, you no longer have anything to say about this issue." And do you remember that mercy seat that was prophesied by all the prophets that came before me? Yeah, that one. I'm on my way up to my Father in heaven, and I'm going to pour out my blood on that mercy seat. And there ain't anything you can do about it. I'm taking my people back. I bought them back, and I'm going to present them before my Father in heaven as worthy to be in his presence, so they can stand and be with him and stand against you, and he has their back now, and they have authority over you, and I'm giving it back to them. I want it. You can't do anything about it. He probably even did a little dance out there. Who knows? I'm a very visual person, remember? So I imagine that, Jesus making a bold display of them openly, I imagine he lived it up, right? As he should have. Okay? So that's something that I have, this picture that he did. Just my experience and my little imagination thing there, I guess, whatever you want to call it. All right, so thank God for that. That's just exciting to me. Okay, so where am I at? I don't want to get off track here. Okay, so where are we at? 15 minutes. Okay, so then we have all of that. So that's all of the differences between the angels and the devils, and where I think that the order of things goes in that. Not that you really need to know, but it might be helpful for you. Okay, that's just what I found out, my experience. I wanted to tell you about it. Okay, now we come to this conclusion of the giants are repopulated on the earth somehow, because we have Og and Goliath, just to name two of them, that we see in the Old Testament. And so somehow sin was still on the earth, evil was still here, okay? Satan made his way into the hearts of man again. And there's a lot of speculation that it happened with an instance between Noah and his son Ham. So let's turn there and look at that. We need to go to Genesis chapter 9. Okay, in verse 20. And Noah began to cultivate the ground, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and became drunk. And he was uncovered and lay naked in his tent. Oh, Noah. And Ham, the father of Canaan is Noah's grandson, glanced at and saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it upon the shoulders of both, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine, so when he awoke from his drunken slumber, and knew the thing which his youngest son had done to him, he exclaimed, Cursed be Canaan. He shall be the servant of servants to his brethren. Okay, and that is referenced in Deuteronomy 27:16. Okay, so Noah got drunk, okay, because he was growing some grapes. He made some wine and got drunk, drank too much, and was uncovered and was naked in his tent. Well, Ham saw him, and apparently, because, it said that he was naked, we're going, we can speculate and assume all kinds of things, but it's speculated that some kind of sexual perversion happened because something was done to Noah. Okay, he knew something was done to him when he woke up, whether it was the Spirit of God that showed him, whether he felt something, whether there was no, we just don't know. Okay, something was different, and he knew. And so Ham opened the door for sin to step in, and from this point, we can just assume Canaan. The Canaanites were a line of people, a tribe that God sent the Israelites to destroy. There was a whole slew of tribes that became what we're going to term seed of Satan, okay, because Satan entered into their hearts. We don't really know. We're not told how the giants repopulated. It could have been a number of things, but we know where the giants came from, okay? So, we're just not quite sure. We're not given a full picture. But we know that they, according to Genesis 6:4, there were giants on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God lived with the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. So this is talking about these giants got here the same way. Didn't get here a different way. They all got here the same way. All right? So they repopulated. And here's something interesting. The Nephilim also had children. Okay? These giants also had children. And they were actually named Rephaim, or I think it's Rephaim. And they're actually mentioned in the Old Testament as well. So things became a mess again. And demon worship, devil worship was introduced back in. to the people, and it became a huge thing. All kinds of stuff was unearthed again to the people of the earth, and it just never really went away. Okay, but God promised He was never going to destroy the earth again by a flood. All right. Now we can look at Sodom and Gomorrah. We're not going to, but you can look at that, and He destroyed that place. It became perverse. It was sexual perversion. There was homosexuality. There was sex with animals. All that stuff was reintroduced back in, and He destroyed that whole city. Okay, it was vile. It was just as vile as the earth was with the flood. Okay, and He destroyed it, and that was during Abraham's time. All right. So here in the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to give you some links and things that you can look up yourself if you want more information on the Nephilim. All over the place, these giant skeletons, these giants are being unearthed from Mexico to here in the United States. All kinds of skulls with horns and all kinds of stuff is being dug up since the 1880s. I have a picture. See, the 1880s is one of these skulls, and it's the internet, and people, they do these things, and you can do a lot of stuff with a picture. You can make fake pictures. You can do all kinds of stuff with the internet, right? So some of these are fake. If you want a book or a person that you can go and a person who's vetted some of this stuff out, he's touched the skulls, he's worked with scientists. His name is L.A. Marzulli. Very, very good. And it's literally L.A. and last name Marzulli, Marzuli. He has worked for years with this. He's done a lot of traveling to all these places. He's gone to a lot of the structures. So science is, in fact, playing out and proving the existence of giants. They're proving out the existence of these structures that had perfect angles and all kinds of stuff, all right? That, according to the human mind, there isn't any way that they could have been formed with a hammer and a chisel, all right? Go look him up. Get his book. I've looked through his books. They're awesome. I do not have one with me. But they are really, really good. He was also on him and Russ Dizdar. I mentioned Russ Dizdar before. They are actually on Prophecy in the News, which is actually filmed in Oklahoma City, I think. Very, very good stuff. They've done some things together on that show, so you can about the Nephilim and the flood of Noah, the days of Noah. Nephilim mounds are in Newark, Ohio, and they are actually very, very interesting and cool to look at. There's a video out there on that. There's all kinds of information out there on that. You can look at that. Russ Dizdar, L.A. Marzulli, and an Indian chief actually did a conference on the Nephilim mounds, and they actually went out there and prayed together as a team. Very, very interesting stuff. And, a lot of these Indian cultures actually have proof that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation, dealing with these giants and these things that were on the earth during their ancestors' time. And very interesting stuff, I'm telling you. Okay, before we go any further, I'm going to give you a word of caution, and I have to hurry up because we're at 24 minutes. Do not, under any circumstances, I'll find you. All right? I don't want to see you going off the deep end. Okay? Like I said before, there has to be balance. And there is a lot of stuff out there and a lot of people who have gone off the deep end, searching this stuff out and chasing after these things. I don't want you to be one of them. All right? The Bible says, He will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on Him. We don't need to be upset about these things. We don't need to be angry. We don't need to go chasing after these things. Light changed again. We don't need to be searching our bloodline because we might be from a Nephilim bloodline. That's absolutely ridiculous, okay? You're a new creature in Christ. You're made new. There's a reason, okay? When you're in Christ, everything From your DNA, everything changes, okay? He makes you a new creature. You no longer have that sin nature in you. The sin nature that we have when we're born and we grow up before we know Christ can't be reformed into something else. That's why you're made new, all right? So you are made new. All things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new, okay? So don't go chasing after that. That's just stupid, okay? I'm just calling it like it is. That's dumb. And there's people who have done that, and they've gotten off track because they've let fear in and all kinds of stuff, and they're encountering things that they don't need to be encountering in their life. All right. So balance. You can do your research. You can be led of God. Don't be digging into things you don't need to be digging into. Okay. All right. Now, some of these pictures I'm going to show you just as, I pulled this picture. I don't know whether it's fake or not, all right? I just kind of wanted you to get the sense of how big these things could have been, all right? Okay, here's one. Huge skull. Huge, huge, huge. All right? That could have been pretty big. This is the one that was found at a burial mound at Sire, Bradford County, Pennsylvania in the 1880s. They estimated this thing to be 7 feet tall, and the burial time is estimated to be around 1200 AD. And this was on beforeitsnews.com. Okay, so you can kind of see the horns there. Yep, there was definitely some stuff that was going on that didn't need to be. Okay. Here's something that's interesting. Egyptian hieroglyphy. They're always found with these deformed heads. And they're always drawn with these deformed heads. And, their eyes are always weird looking, and, almost alien looking. What we term as alien. By the way, don't get off on that either. Aliens are nothing but demons. And that's a whole other line of subject, but just please be careful, all right? All right. Now this skull was, I want you to look at this. This is Akhenaten. This is an Egyptian ruler, okay? Look at his head. The scientists have been trying to figure out what kind of sickness he had to cause this deformity in his head. Okay, this is a statue that was made of him. And I want you to see and look at this skull that they found. This is an elongated skull found at the Caracas Museum, all right? And the skull that's sitting next to it is a control skull. It's a human skull without any deformities. So it's kind of different. See that elongated head? Have you noticed that a lot of the Egyptian things have elongated heads? And, I'm just trying to, draw some connections here. It could or it could not be. I'm not saying it is, right? But it's very interesting, some of these things that they are finding in science and digging up. Just interesting stuff. So, next time we meet, next time I film anything, it's going to conclude the whole flood stuff. But you have to have I'm going to get to my dream, but we have to have this foundation of this whole thing, that the manipulating the DNA, the difference between the angels and the demons, the seed, Satan trying to destroy the seed, manipulating everything and destroying everything that God created because he just hates us. I mean, he hates God. He hates God. I mean, he just absolutely hates God and anybody who loves God, all right? He hates everything God. He's trying to set himself up as God in these days. So we have to know, his whole thing so we can know what's of God and what's of false, all right, what's not of God, what's of Satan, what's of his ways in these last days. So we'll know the truth. Okay? So the next time we talk, there is a boy named Josiah, King Josiah, in 2 Kings that we're going to talk about. And we'll kind of give a brief history of the stuff that came back in before his time, that found its way and crept back in. But one of my favorite characters is Josiah. He was young. I mean, he was so young when he was put as king, and God got a hold of him, and I mean, he just took after. I mean, he just started this thing, and we'll go over it of what he did, and I love reading about Josiah, even though there's not a whole lot to read about him. I love that part, okay, because we need more Josiahs in this day. All right, we need more of him. So you can go ahead and you can read forward if you want about him. But I'm going to be done taping for a while, so, or recording, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to, I've got some things I've got to do. So you guys be blessed. We will get to my dream, I promise. But we had to have this foundation so you understand. After Josiah, we're going to talk about a little bit about Hitler, because you have to know about Hitler to know what's going on today, and to know about my dream, or you're not going to be able to understand anything. Okay? All right. Be blessed. I love you. And I'll see you later. Bye. Whoop. Come on, get up there. Bye.